The way I grew up was it was real dysfunctional. Not pretty. I mean, like I had an older brother, and his favorite thing to do was get us whippings. And if he had to take a whipping to get me a whipping, he would do it in a heartbeat. We went outside. That's when I was pretty young, and went to the side of the house. He said, "Throw a rock at that window." So picked it up, threw the rock. I just didn't know any better. He was my older brother. I thought, okay, well, it's gonna be all right, and it wasn't. We got whipped pretty bit, and another time my stepdad was putting bicycles together for us, and he was looking out the window. He said, "Come on, look out the window." So I got up there and looked too, and about that time my stepdad seen us, and he come in the house and just whooped us real good. I mean, he didn't whip us. He would bat us across the head and kick us in the rear end, and just whatever he felt like doing. He had a horrific temper. It was really bad. So fast forward to teen years, my brother, well, back when I was like 13, 14 years old, my brother was always getting me into scraps, and after about third one, he quit doing that because I was good at it. I was good at boxing, if you want to call it that. And so later on, during school time, I had people that would walk up to me and just start swinging on me. I didn't even know who they were, but they knew him. I guess that's all it took. But and one time, to fast forward it to like in my 20s, well, a little bit later than that, about 25, my mother tried to talk me into killing my stepdad. Of course, I don't think I come up with that answer. I think the Lord told me that's what she wanted me to do. So I said, well, I got to get up and go, so I left. But later on, I got married, and I had a baby girl, and so everything was cooking along pretty good. And I just I was not doing too good because I was angry. I was drinking a 12-pack a night just to sleep, and probably could have drank more than that, but that was all it took. So that's all I drank, which is bad enough. And so I finally got mad, and I said, well, okay, this is after we did what we did. I said, now you're going to carry a son for me for 9 months because you've been glued to your family for so long. And what I mean by that is every little thing I did, she would run tell her mama and her stepdaddy, and they would take action on whatever it was that I told her, and she told them. So that's when I really started noticing the Lord's protection. He protected me all my life. And well, I'm going to go back a little bit. One time I borrowed a friend's motorcycle, and I was riding along and it quit. So, the tracks were low and they were level. The railroad tracks went right through town. So I pushed that motorcycle off on those tracks, and I thought, surely there won't be a train coming. Well, there was. And so I'm struggling to get that motorcycle off those tracks, and then my jeans got caught on a foot peg. So I started pulling, and I ripped the pants, turned 2 steps, hit the bank, and that motorcycle went tumbling down the tracks, wound up into a big ball of metal. And so that was another time the Lord protected me. And there was people out to beat me up. According to my brothers, he would help them with it. That happened a lot. And the Lord I would always miss them. They would look for me and they wouldn't find me. And I think that was absolutely the Lord. But anyway, I married a good old Southern family. And I didn't know she was going to stay married to her family, and she did. And absolutely married to her family. So every little thing I did, she went and told them. So then we wound up with 2 kids. And maybe I was wrong, but I finally got tired of it. I was fighting everybody, my own family, people at work. I was fighting her family and her. So finally, I just got tired of it. I packed up a bag and I said, your mama will never tell me what to do again. She may tell you what to do, but she won't tell me what to do. So I grabbed that bag and out the door I went. So we're tootling along, filing paperwork, getting ready to get a divorce. And all of a sudden, I'm getting these garnishments on my paycheck. I was paying my child support, but I'm getting garnishments on my check. And I mean, huge amounts. I might have $100 left out of like a $700-800 paycheck, and so I'm thinking, what's going on? So I started checking into it, and it was a garnishment from an attorney. And he was going downtown and garnishing my paychecks in my kids' name, both my kids' name, his name, my ex's name. And so when I started getting some of the check stubs and information back, she had changed her name from Darlene Hendricks, Hendricks, to Hendrix. So she had, and I looked at them, and they were stamped Bank of Canton. They had a stamp on them for the Bank of Canton. So I went to the bank. Of course, they wouldn't tell me nothing, but they were all looking at each other like, ooh, huh. And so she had 2 accounts. So I finally got fed up with all that, and I got copies of all the garnishments because it was so ridiculous. The judges sometimes wouldn't give them to her, given to that attorney. And so I made a big old package of all that information and sent it to the Attorney General's office. Now, who would have inspired me to do that? Who do you think inspired me to do that? Well, we all know it was God. I was drowning, man. I needed help, and I couldn't get it from anywhere. My parents treated me like I had the plague. I can't do anything to help you. And so all of a sudden, everything stopped. Everything stopped, and there was $6,000 in an account downtown that had been garnished that stayed there for like 8 years. And what they were doing was garnishing my paycheck so that they could make it impossible for me to pay child support because they wanted to put me in jail. So, and what was funny about that was the Lord told me not to do anything. I could have really prosecuted her, that attorney, but her family would have been scot-free. They were just paying people. So I could have got her in a lot of trouble and that attorney, but the Lord didn't want me to do that, I guess, because that's my kid's mother. So I didn't do it, although I wanted to. So everything went along, and so I bought a house, and I was working on it. And so one day my neighbors come up and said that a couple of people came up with the sheriff's department looking at all the windows. What they wanted to do is say my house was not worthy of being occupied by my kids. Well, for some reason I got up and I put towels over the windows, all of them. And I wonder who inspired me to do that. Well, they didn't get to look in the house. So that was another failure on their part. So and then my ex got married, and so the guy that she married was easy to manipulate, and he hated me right off the bat. So because of what my ex's family told him, and so it was really ridiculous. I would go to pick the kids up and they wouldn't be home. I couldn't see my kids because they weren't home. And then one time I went over there to pick my kids up and they had moved without telling me anything, And so I had to get my attorney to contact her attorney to find out where they moved. That's the only way I could find out. And so during this time, they finally quit garnishing my wages because they got caught when I sent all that paperwork to the Attorney General downtown Atlanta. And all he did was send me a note that says, "You need an attorney." Oh, really? You know. Well, I already knew that. And so it just didn't stop. I would go over there, pick my kids up, and they'd all come out to the car looking like a ghost. And my daughter told me he's standing there with a 357 in his hand. So, you know, I was tormented everywhere I went. And then finally my daughter quit talking to me because of their influence. And they wouldn't let me anywhere near my son because he had a soft spot for me. So finally I gave up and I came up here to Tennessee. And that's when I decided I was going to try to be a songwriter. And here it is. I came up here in 99. And here it is just now getting a song on the air. Years later, of course, it's all according to God's plan. And so he's healing everything. He's healing everything because I quit trying to do it myself. I quit trying to do it on my own power. But all those years I was under fire, in danger. He was always right there with me to protect me. I mean, I've never been protected like that before in my life. And so that's the main part of this whole thing. That my in-laws' stepdad, my wife's stepdad, said he was a mercenary too. Do you know what a mercenary is? They kill for money. He said, I'll put a bullet in you and sit down on your body and eat my lunch. So, well, what I did was I picked up the phone and called the local police station and told them that he threatened me. And then I told him the whole family threatened me, because they did. And they really made them mad. Well, they wanted to skin me alive, but that's okay. I don't care. And so finally, it finally started dying down because their health started fading on them. And this guy was a mercenary. He'd been all over the world, I guess, killing people, because that's what he did for a living. So finally, he got sick and went to the hospital, got cancer. And during this time, he was getting sick, you know, in and out of the hospital. His dear sweet wife, my ex's mother, went to a fortune teller and bought a spell to put on me. Yeah. The thing about spells, for your own information, the only time a spell can make roots when you believe it can. If you don't believe it can work, it won't work. It's plain and simple. And so finally, she got sick. She had a tumor the size of a football inside of her. And so she died of cancer. And to bring things forward, you know, I put my kids up on the altar. And I said, Lord, I can't do this. I tried for years to get them to care about me, to call, to, you know, express any kind of affection to me, and they didn't do it. So when I gave up and turned it all over to him, well, lo and behold, then things started happening. My son starts calling me, and Dad, what about this, what about that? And then probably 6 months ago, my daughter started calling me, and so I just couldn't tell her I love her enough, because simple reason was I wanted to tell her that I loved her for all the times that I couldn't tell her before. And so he changed everything. He changed everything. So what I'm saying is, if you're trying to do something in your own flesh, it's not going to work. We're all believers here. And he told me to tell y'all that we're all remnants. We're all remnants. Anybody that's going to this church is a remnant. Maybe other people too, but I know he told me about this church. So, and I'm tootling along, you know, my son's getting married, and he's talking about this and that, and all of a sudden one of his groomsmen can't make it. So, and all this time, for years, right up until lately, My ex didn't have nothing nice to say. It was always, you know, it's just ugly, mean. And so he's telling me today, he says, Dad, I need to, would you be a groomsman? I said, of course I would. And he said, Mom suggested you to be a groomsman. And I told him, I laughed, and I said, what got into her? Well, to be honest with you, I've been praying for her, you know, because hate and anger is a poison. It will eat you up alive. And plus, Kent's told me that people who hate and have a lot of anger wind up with cancer a lot of times. And so I believe that, because hate and anger is not good. It's nothing but a poison that you're keeping in your body, you know. And it's going to get to you sooner or later. So I hope you understand that I was the victim of a conspiracy. And so the Lord guided me through all that. Even though I was a raving maniac, didn't know what to do. Back then, I was eat up with PTSD because of the environment I grew up in. So when I'd get in my car and drive down, and I grew up in this area, and drive down the red light, I'd forget where I was going and why I was going there, and I'd forget where I was. I couldn't remember. So he protected me all my life from a lot of vicious people. So, and he fixed everything. What I'm saying is you got to relinquish control of your life to him. I mean, you know, he's not going to open doors for you or fix your flat tire. You know, you got to do that. But if you relinquish control of whatever's going on with you to him, it will be okay. He's going to fix it. Because he loves us that much. And the proof is in Psalms 103. Read that chapter and say, like 103 verse 4. Who, you talk about the Lord, who forgiveth all thine iniquities, who healeth all thy diseases, who redeemeth thy life from destruction. And that's what he did, because I was doing my best to get killed. Not suicide, but I did all the wrong things for a long time. And so he kept his hand on me and didn't let me die, because I had a lot of opportunities to die, and he saved me from it. So, and another one that I wrote down was, that I thought was pretty good, was Psalms 116, verse 8. For thou hast delivered my soul from death, mine eyes from tears, and my feet from falling. And these are promises that he's made to us in the Bible. So that's a forever thing. He gave us those promises to last from forever to forever. So all I can tell you is I don't have a police record, and I used to have a lead foot, so I had a lot of tickets. Lost my license twice. I thought I was Richard Petty. And but I don't have a police record or anything else, and it's all because of him. He's the one that saved me. One night, I'll be honest, I went to see a friend downtown, and he was a bartender, and I don't know how stiff he made those drinks, but I was his friend, so he made them really stiff. And so I got in my truck, and I'm trying to leave, and there was a car at a stop sign right by me, and I just took off and wound up with red paint on my truck the next morning. So I got out there with my pocket knife, scraped it off. But I mean, it was just stuff like that. He saved me. He saved me. I don't know what else to tell you. He's always right by our side. I mean, always. He's always faithful. Always faithful. So I'm sorry I'm not taking up more time, but maybe some people get up and do a testimony or two. But you got the long and the short of it. You know what I've been through. So I love y'all.
Randy, you're absolutely right. God is faithful.